When I tell people I started a YouTube channel at 58, I often get one of two reactions. The first is surprise, and the second is confusion. Because I think many people assume that by your late 50s you're supposed to be slowing down, perhaps even winding down, certainly not starting something completely new. But here's the truth. I didn't start a YouTube channel because I wanted to become famous. I didn't start it because I thought it would make me rich. And I didn't start it because I was bored. I started it because I wasn't finished. And I suspect some of you will understand exactly what I mean by that. One thing nobody really talks about is what happens when you've spent decades building things. Building a career, building a family, building a life. For 40 years, there was always something demanding my attention, a problem to solve, a goal to pursue, a responsibility to manage. And then, gradually, that begins to change. The responsibilities become lighter, the pace slows, the calendar becomes less full. And while that's something many of us work towards, it can also leave a big gap in your life, because even when you no longer need to work, that doesn't mean you've stopped wanting to create or learn or contribute or challenge yourself. And I realised 18 months, well, probably about a year into my retirement, that I still had a lot of energy that needed somewhere to go. As I've gotten older, I've become increasingly aware that experience has value, not because I have all the answers, I certainly don't, but because life teaches you lessons. Some through success, some through mistakes, and some through heartbreak. Some through unexpected opportunities. When I think about it, I've downsized homes twice. I've changed lifestyles, I've reduced my working hours, I've moved locations, I've thought deeply about retirement and freedom and purpose, about money, about family. And I found myself wondering, what's the point of learning all of these lessons if I never share them? What if some of the things I've learned could help somebody else who's asking similar questions? Not by teaching and not by pretending to be an expert, but simply by sharing my thoughts and my experiences honestly. And that's really where the channel began, exploring these thoughts and feelings. And this also led me to create the Gen X Reckoning companion journey, which goes deeper into these many life themes, which you might find useful. I think many Gen Xers underestimate something. We don't necessarily miss work, but we often miss engagement, challenge, connection, progress, a reason to get up and build something. And YouTube gave me that. There was a learning curve, believe you me, it was steep. New skills to learn. I'd never edited in my life. New technology, new problems to solve. And I realised that I really enjoyed that, because it reminded me that growth doesn't stop simply because you're getting older. In fact, I think continuing to learn is one of the things that keeps life interesting. Another reason YouTube appealed to me is because it felt really familiar. For years, I worked independently. I worked from home. I used technology. I managed my own projects. And I spent most of my time on a laptop. I created things. I solved problems. In many ways, YouTube felt like a natural extension of the skills I'd been using for decades, but just applied differently. And that's an important point. Starting something new doesn't always mean starting from scratch. Sometimes you're simply repurposing the experience you've already gained. Would I like the channel to generate some income? Of course. I think it's important to be honest about that. But if money was the only motivation, I would have stopped already, because YouTube takes time, it takes patience, it takes perseverance, it takes consistency, and it's hard work. There are no guarantees. The real reward has been something else, though. It's the conversations like this. It's the community. It's the comments from people and messages from people saying, I thought I was the only one feeling this way. And those moments remind me why I started. I think sometimes it can be a bit challenging because people like me don't necessarily comment hugely on a YouTube challenge. And so I think I would like a little bit more of that, a little bit more engagement from you guys who are watching this. But if it's simply just about knowing that somebody else feels the same way that you do, knowing that you're not alone, maybe that's exactly what this channel needs to be. If I'm honest, I think the deepest reason I started this channel is because ambition doesn't simply disappear. It changes. When I was younger, ambition looked like career progression, achievement, financial security, but now it looks different. Now it's about creating something meaningful, using my experience, helping others, continuing to grow, continuing to contribute, and proving to myself that new chapters can begin at any age. So, why did I start a YouTube channel at 58? Because I felt I still had something to say, because I still very much wanted to learn, because I still wanted a challenge, because I still wanted to create, because I still wanted to connect with people walking a similar path. And perhaps most importantly, because I wasn't finished yet. If you're watching this and wondering whether it's too late to start something new, I hope this video encourages you to ask a different question. Not, am I too old, but what if I'm just getting started? I'm Angela, and if you've come this far with me, I hope you'll stay. Subscribing means you'll be here for whatever comes next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.